$15, $18, $22, $25 people tuning in here as we start off the new year. Happy 2024 to everyone out there. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Week 18 is upon us. And as soon as week 18 closes, we have the NFL playoffs, which should be absolutely insane this year, Justin. I can't think of, one team that really, sure, they don't have a shot, but in that first wildcard weekend, every team is live to win any game. It really has felt like any given Sunday in the NFL this year. Excited to hear what your thoughts are on the playoffs. Want to get your take. And it's going to be a very, very interesting one to tune into this year to see who's going to take it all down, because it could literally be anybody. What's your new year been like? Happy New Year. What you've been up to? Best ball is over. And of course, I'm sure you're right back into drafting best ball squads for the playoffs. How are we feeling this year?
I need to start off with every team is not alive. There's one team that decent chance to make the playoffs. The Steelers have no chance at making a run at it. Their best case scenario is they get the 6th seed. They play the Chiefs in the round 1. Chiefs are just atrocious in and of itself, and they're able to somehow squeeze by there. So I'm not saying they have zero chance at winning a game, because Chiefs are crap too. But oh, come on. We have two teams that are head and shoulders ahead of the rest of the teams here this year, 49ers and Ravens. I think it's going to be interesting, but sorry, Tej, Eagles are absolute crap right now. Literally cannot do anything. That game against the Cardinals was just atrocious. And now you got Devontae Smith with the mild ankle sprain. I think it's going to be a fun playoffs. I'm excited, but don't get me wrong. Ravens and 49ers are head and shoulders ahead of the rest of the league.
I agree with that. I just think that the wildcard weekend games are going to be fantastic. Always one of my favorite weekends of the year, just because of the excitement around the NFL. I feel like at the end of the season, it sort of starts to lull a little bit, and then we get the playoffs, and it's just absolutely incredible action back and forth. So, it should be really fun to watch what unfolds. But yeah, of course, Ravens playing the best, locked up the number 1 seed. My Steelers, the only reason why they have a shot to get into the playoffs is because Ravens likely going to be resting. I can't imagine they're going to take the game all that seriously. And then San Francisco, I don't think anybody has played as good as San Francisco has played all year long. It's just a matter of if they can keep going through the playoffs, if they can stay healthy. We saw what happened last year with San Francisco when Purdy went out against the Eagles, and then everything falls apart. So of course, injuries have played a massive part of the entire regular season this year. So I expect injuries to play a little bit of a part of the playoffs. We'll see who can stay healthy and who can get to the final weekend. So we'll see. All right, we're going to do a couple things on this show. We're going to keep it pretty tight today. I got about 30 minutes, so I want to dive into it. We're going to talk TOC contests. We got to talk through all of the TOC playoff details. We're going to get a little bit of Justin's take on playoffs. We're going to talk about some percentages in terms of who's going to make playoffs, who isn't going to make playoffs. We had to make some decisions on our team to decide what TOC packs, what teams were going to be in the TOC packs for wildcard weekend. So we're going to go through that. And then I think there's a little side bet action that, Justin, he wins just about every bet that he partakes, but I seem to have his number, gents. I seem to always find an angle. We had a nice side bet this year. George Pickens, my dog, my guy, George Pickens versus Christian Watson. And unfortunately, I think the bet would have been even more fun if Christian Watson could have stayed healthy. When he was healthy, he was an absolute beast. And Love just continues to get better and better. Green Bay looked pretty good this past weekend. So excited to see them in the future. But yeah, we had George Pickens versus Christian Watson, and George ultimately came out on top. So Justin's going to do a little push-ups, little sit-ups at the end of this stream to pay off that bet. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk.
I was going to say, I didn't check. I'm trying to look it up really quickly now. If it was points per game, I think Watson would have been close. But Pickens,
that last game from Pickens,
probably Pickens helped pulled away. But either way, if it was points per game, it would have felt dirty because, hey, you got to stay healthy. And Christian Watson, I mean, he played less than half the season. There were a couple games where maybe he would have actually lost that bet because he ended early because he was getting hurt. Like ugly from Christian Watson. Yeah, I don't know how. Like literally, I get it in good versus you nonstop, and I think I've lost every single one. And it's almost always because of a Steeler. Like it is a bad Steeler bet that your heart ends up going for, and you win it, and it is so impressive. And I'm not bitter. I'm just impressed.
Guys, Steelers aren't in the packs. The team vetoed me. I couldn't even sneak my own team into the playoff packs. They're not in it. I understand, but hey, don't count out Mason Rudolph, baby. Don't count out the Rudolph run that he is on. I mean, it's actually crazy watching the Steelers to get real for 2 seconds, because I mean, they have been abysmal all season long. One of the worst teams to watch, one of the worst fantasy teams. And then the last couple of weeks, just offensive explosion with none other than Mason Rudolph. It just doesn't make any sense. Someone wake me up, because I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. It's going to be insane. Anyways, all right, let's get into TOC contests. Share my screen here. There's going to be, we've done a lot of different things with TOC, but one thing that has happened this year that we experimented with over the course of the Thanksgiving slates and some of these slates where we had extra games where you just couldn't really have a wrinkle, we put in side slates, and those side slates have had a ton of action. A lot of people have been really interested in them. They've driven a lot of engagement, and we thought, let's just double down on that. So for playoffs this year, we're going with a weekly version. There's going to be 3 contests: wildcard weekend contest, divisional weekend contest, and then a combined conference championship plus Super Bowl contest. Each contest is separate. All the scoring will be separate. There won't be any cumulative scoring. So it's just a weekly game. 50,000 gold in prizes for each one of the weeks. And then, of course, we had to give you guys the opportunity to get playoff packs, because there's nothing better than ripping packs. So for each of these weekends, you'll be able to either buy or trade in current cards plus OG cards to secure packs. So here's how packs will work. 1, the trade-in. You exchange any 5 cards plus 99 gold, and you'll receive a playoff pack with 3 cards in every pack. Those cards will be from the teams that are only live or only left playing in the playoffs. For the wild card weekend, we've basically taken every team that had like a 60+% chance to get into the playoffs. So we wanted these packs to not include teams that won't make the playoffs. So yes, my poor Steelers likely aren't going to get in. So we didn't want to have them in there as dead cards. So we just tried to skinny the list as much as possible. So for the wild card weekend specifically, the teams in the packs are San Francisco. There's 13 teams in these packs: San Francisco, Kansas City, Baltimore, Dallas, Philadelphia, Miami, Detroit, Cleveland, the Rams, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay. So that is the 13 teams that are currently in the wildcard weekend packs, and those packs are set. There won't be any changes after week 18. That would just be unfair to anybody buying packs ahead of time. So that pack is currently available now. Exchange any 5 cards, 2023 or OG cards, to get those packs. And then the second way is, if you've never played TOC, if you're somehow stumbling upon this stream, you can go buy packs. You can purchase playoff packs, 3 cards, again, for 250 gold, which is $25. Yeah. And then every week, the pack will essentially get smaller and smaller. So for the divisional weekend, they'll only have the 8 teams in those 4 games that are left for that pack.
Yep.
Any other thing to cover on?
I was going to say, if you're doing number 2, like little tip, don't do number 2. If you're going to do number 2, go to the marketplace, go buy 5 really, really cheap cards, and then do the trade in. Go in the Discord and talk to someone else, and maybe they'll trade you, 5 cards for 1 card after you buy one or something. Get creative. Let people in the Discord help out. Use the marketplace to get that discount to get the number 1.
Yeah, completely agree. That second option, it is there for you to take advantage of, but there are plenty of options to use the trade-in. Really want to leverage the utility that the cars provide. And I will say this is the last time to use the OG cards. So we had the OG contest in 2021, brought them back for this year. Going forward, there will not be any OG contests. So if you have OG cards, you really want to get the last bit of utility out of those cards by exchanging them. and jumping into these playoff contests, which should be some of the most exciting TOC contests that we've had, coming off of the TOC finals in week 17. Really, really excited to see how the playoffs unfold.
Yep. And if you go to the
All
slide
right.
before, I'll talk what I kind of like. So one is we've seen these kind of side 1 week contests have been really fun from a ripping packs, from a customizing it to those slates. But also I do think there is some kind of playoff strategy element to this as well, especially if you're trying to play that marketplace, because if you think that, hey, Tampa is actually a wild card and like, yeah, they're going to beat the Panthers, they're going to get into the playoffs, then they're going to get the Eagles in week 1, they're going to win that. Now you're claiming like, hey, you can actually use those cards in 2 different weeks. Plus you're thinking they win in that first game, so they probably do well. So there's some opportunity to say like, hey, I'm going to get ahead because I think Tampa, I'm going to put my stake in the ground on Tampa. I'm going to buy those cards now because I can use them for the first week. I can hopefully use them for the second week because I think they make it, and maybe they even make a run. And now you're saying, hey, I'm making it for the whole future. And obviously, if you're looking at the marketplace, Tampa cards are going to be cheaper than San Francisco or Baltimore or these ones that you expect to play and do well in all 3. I guess, hey, actually, wild card though, San Francisco and Baltimore will not be in that first one because they both have that bye locked in.
Yeah, great question here by Butcha. And just to be as clear as possible here, you can use any of your 2023 cards in these contests. You don't need to go exchange. Let's say you have Baltimore or San Francisco. You want to keep those cards. If you have jokers, you want to keep those jokers because you can obviously make that joker any card that you want. So those cards will play in these contests. So there isn't like new packs that are specific to these contests. These are for all 2023 cards. The only thing these packs are doing is skinnying down the 23 cards so that only the teams that we put into the packs are in there. So trying to give you as much as possible.
Yes, if you buy a pack right now, you're going to get those cards. Those cards, as long as the team is still alive, the cards are good. Obviously, if you end up getting a Miami card and then Miami loses the first round, you can't use that in the second weekend. But you can use that Miami card to turn in to get the next deal and then get more cards for those specific weekends. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yep. And then the lineup construction for these contests is the same as main event lineup construction all season long. 5 card lineups, 1 per position, must use 1 rare card. The highest score obviously wins, and then low serial combo will break ties. Obviously, as we go down, especially at that conference championship and Super Bowl weekend, I expect there to be duplicates. I expect serials to come into play. So you want to be stacking those low serials. That's just part of the game and part of how the ties will break out. The only thing we haven't announced at this point is payout structure. I saw TJ earlier in the Discord comment that we're working on that. We've seen a lot of positivity around the current structure that we've had out there for all the side slates. So we'll see if there's any deviations from that, but I would expect that it looks pretty similar to the contest that we've had as the side slate that have been 50,000 gold. I would expect it to look pretty similar to that. So payouts coming and formalized very soon. All right. Any other TOC stuff that we missed, Justin, that we didn't cover?
Information wise, I think that makes sense. Rip and pack wise, I think we're still going to do that, but we'll wrap the show with that.
Yeah, let's cover some fun stuff. So we covered a little bit of my Steelers bet. Justin going to do some sit-ups and push-ups for us. But I think Bills, Justin, are one of the more interesting things here. And of course, when you're hanging out with the brain, there's always a tool that you need to be using. So Sumer Sports, I think I'm getting that right. Sumersports.com shows you the breakdown of every single team's percentage to get into the playoff. And then, of course, they're predicting what happens in the playoffs. They're predicting San Francisco with a 33% chance to get to the Super Bowl. They're predicting Baltimore with a 24% chance. But I think
to win the Super Bowl. To win the Super Bowl. Because conference title is the one before. So you've got 49ers at a 58% to win the NFC and advance to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So 33% chance to win the Super Bowl. Wow. Big number on San Francisco, but hey, they've been playing like that. But I think, Justin, give us like the high level. How do you use this? What contests are you looking at? What are you playing? I know you're probably drafting playoff best ball. What are you looking at when you're trying to decide what stands you're taking, what fade you're making for playoffs? Are you stacking teams? What's the process?
Yeah, so obviously it depends on the different kind of contest structure, but in general, I'm using this just to kind of supplement where I think or where I'm not really sure on advancing one to the playoffs, and that's been more helpful in the past. But even just this weekend, you still have some crazy things. Like, hey, let's look at that Buffalo scenario. If you look at Buffalo on this chart, we've got Buffalo all the way up there with the fourth or fifth best to win the Super Bowl odds, and they're not even locked into the playoffs right now. Also, there's a little, I'd say, what the math here is probably a little off because it's probably not accounting for the unknown of, hey, Buffalo plays Miami. Okay, Buffalo needs to win that. I think they're probably, I haven't looked, but I guess they're probably like a 4-point favorite or something in that. But then it's also expecting that Baltimore is going to crush. Who's Baltimore playing?
Steelers.
They obviously, but
Steelers.
Baltimore's a really interesting one because Baltimore's already locked up the playoffs. They're not 100% healthy. It could be nice to kind of say like, hey, we want to rest them. However, if you remember back from, was it a couple years ago? They similarly had that kind of rest, came out really sloppy and lost, I think it was the first round of the playoffs. And so maybe they're like, you know what? We learned from that experience. This year, we are going to play our guys a little more. I haven't really been keyed into too much from a DFS standpoint for this weekend of what the Ravens are going to do. My initial guess was going to be that like we may see them come out for a little, do that kind of, hey, one drive. So they're at least going through the week with the same process, keeping that routine, but then come game time, decreasing that injury. If there is anyone that's kind of on the brink, you rest them. But like, yeah, I think Steelers in a must-win game have a pretty strong chance of winning that. So now we're talking if Dolphins upset the Bills, if the Steelers win, which isn't that unrealistic, and then all you need is Jacksonville, who's already favored substantially in their game versus Tennessee. Those three things happen, and Buffalo misses the playoffs. And so that is a crazy one where if you pull a TOC pack right now and you get Bills, I mean, you're excited because they're not getting a bye, so you get them the wild card round. They're also one of the best teams and one of the strongest to actually make it to the Super Bowl and perform well. But also, there's a a shot that they don't even make the playoffs, depending on what happens this weekend.
Yeah, there crazy. Chat's all over it. Steelers 3.5-point favorite, and I just looked. Buffalo also 3-point favorite against Miami, and then 5.5-point favorite for the Jags over Tennessee. I mean, that's just a crazy scenario where Buffalo just playing for their life, essentially.
Yeah. If you think of the math real quick, so a 3-point favorite usually wins at about a 60% clip. So if we say that, okay, 40% of the time Miami wins, 60% of the time Pittsburgh wins, that's 24% likelihood. And then what's the other one? You said Jacksonville is how much?
5.5. So a little more.
25.5. So that's about like 65, a little less than 70. So 0.24 times 0.7. That one I'm going to have to do a calculator. You're looking at 17%. So like 17% of the time, Bills don't make the playoffs based off the current Vegas odds. That's pretty crazy.
Something's off with that 95.9% number, as Justin's been alluding to. I mean, it's just simply not that high. The Bills get in, and they're obviously one of the most dangerous teams that could just go off offensively. But yeah, I mean, they're not 95% chance to make the playoffs. So I think Dolphins also, if you're the Dolphins, like keeping the Bills out of the playoffs is huge. I would have to imagine they want to keep clicking as they have been. So yeah, it's one of the more interesting pre-playoff scenarios. I know the Steelers have been involved in a couple of these in the last years, but for a team that has as good of odds to win the Super Bowl as Buffalo, for them to have this scenario where it's basically a play-in game, it's going to be quite interesting. It's also at Miami, I believe. 90% confidence at Miami, so it's not home either for Buffalo.
No. Yeah, it is. It is Miami. You're right. Yeah. And so what's interesting here from a seed-wise is if Buffalo beats Miami, Buffalo then wins the division and they get the 2 seed, where Miami then drops to probably the 6th seed and then having to go to probably Kansas City in that first one. But if they win, they're now pretty much guaranteed the 2nd seed. Kansas City's announced that they're going to be resting Patrick Mahomes. They're probably going to rest most of their starters this week. Maybe Pacheco goes so he gets his 1,000-yard season. But like for the most part, Chiefs are resting. So like this is the difference between getting a 2 seed and home field, except for the Baltimore, or getting a 6 seed and going on the road for just about every game of the playoffs.
Yeah, 2 seed versus 6 seed is incredible change. So tons of things happening on the AFC side. Is there? I actually haven't really looked a ton at the NFC side of things, but interestingly, I see, for purposes of this, we kept the Saints out of the pack. We have Green Bay in the pack, 73% chance to make it. I don't think there's anything as crazy on the NFC side of things. I saw on Playoff Picks, there's only 2 spots, right? Yeah, 2 spots on the NFC side of things.
Yeah, the craziest is like there's a way that the Falcons can somehow squeak in there. But for the most part, you're looking at Dallas is the 2 seed, Detroit is the 3 seed, and then if the Bucs beat Carolina, which we fully expect to be the 4 seed, that would then put the Eagles most likely at the 5 seed, and then 6th and the 7th. There's a little up for grabs there, but for the most part, it would then be Green Bay and the Rams, but the Saints and the Falcons have an outside shot. I think if the Rams and Packers maybe lose.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. Based on this and what I'm looking at.
No, Rams are 100% in. So it's just the Packers. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Packers only won at this point. So if Packers lose, they're 15% chance to make it. If they win, they're basically in. So a little bit more solidified on the NFC side of things. So it should be quite interesting to see how it plays out. Justin, any playoff fades, any injuries that we need to be thinking about? Any big time? I mean, obviously you sort of flag planted 49ers, Ravens. I think the 49ers Ravens would be a pretty awesome Super Bowl, but any thoughts on teams you think can make a run? Any thoughts on injuries or fades that you're making?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cowboys are like a complete team. A little injuries in the defensive side that make them not as good as earlier in the season, but still very, very strong defense. And we know that, that offense through CeeDee Lamb can be clicking. Still think San Francisco is a substantially better team, but like Cowboys, I say have a shot. Eagles now along with other troubles, Devontae Smith with that ankle sprain. Even if he is able to come back in the playoffs in 2 weeks, like you don't recover from those quickly and come back at 100%. I think most likely we don't even see him in the next 2 weeks, but maybe we do. But like that's got to hurt as well when Eagles are going to have to go on the road, probably to Tampa. Let's see. On the AFC side, Browns are probably the most injured team in the league right now. You got Elijah Moore in the concussion protocol. Like that's one that really, I expect them to just about rest everyone this week and just try to get healthy. They need that health more than just about anyone else, but I think they're probably one of my most favorite teams to be watching right now with, again, I think they have the best, if not the second best team defense in the league right now. And then combine that with Joe Flacco has been able to do for the offensive side. If they can get healthy, you can have Cooper, Elijah Moore, and Njoku get that running game as well. Like I think they could make some noise and, hey, come winter months.
Yeah, I it's kind of wild to say this, but I really like the Browns. I like Detroit too. I just think like there are teams that you don't really want to play. And the Browns, for an exact opposite thing of Detroit, the offense just seems like they could explode at any moment. And in the playoffs, obviously, you don't want to count too much on offense. You really want to rely more on the defense. But it just feels like if you're putting up in the high 20s, early 30s in a playoff game, you have a great chance to win. Obviously, going to be hard to do that. But I like those two teams as being pretty damn sneaky this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the challenge for someone like the Lions, someone who has a strong offense but a weak defense, is this is a rare year where our best offenses also have some of the best defenses. Like we look at the Ravens, we look at the 49ers. And so in other years, you're like, hey, maybe it's that Ravens team that is struggling on offense, but they're keeping you down. So like maybe you can put up 17 because your offense is so good. And you're holding the opposing offense because they struggle. But here, Lions, like more likely than not, they're going to struggle against some of these San Francisco 49ers or Ravens. But even if they are able to put up the strong points, their defense is atrocious. And the Niners and Ravens are just going to walk all over them. So like they need a top 10% outcome on offense to continue against a very, very good defense. Oh, and also they need to hope that they still are able to, outmatch the opposing offense. That's where I think it's a bit trickier this year where we have such complete teams in the Niners and Ravens.
Good question here from Reese's Tarnished. I know we're not going to get too deep into the best ball streets for playoffs, but he's saying, how do you build a draft around Ravens Niners for a Super Bowl with both teams having the bye? Are you thinking about that? I mean, I feel like it would be pretty hard to probably get both Ravens and Niners in the draft, but
I think Reese is talking a little more like underdog, where we're doing like gauntlet and such. For this, I think the key is going with Niners early and getting Lamar in the second. And then you're just kind of foregoing the Purdy aspect. You keep Lamar. You go with late QB, who's just going to advance you in that first round. But in that structure, you can probably do something like hey, you can get CMC. Maybe Lamar falls to you in the second, and maybe you can get Kittle in the third. Or if you're not going CMC, what you could probably do is say like, hey, with that third, like you're going Debo, you grab Lamar, you grab then a Kittle. And I think that's the best way to really take this approach, where Lamar is going to really guide you through. And the best part is, if you have a Baltimore San Francisco Super Bowl, it's very plausible that like no Raven is you really need, because Lamar can have so many of those points on his own. Or it could just be you go Lamar and you get Mark Andrews to the last pick. You get Rashad Bateman. You get Odell Beckham. Because those guys go so late, grab the 49ers early and then just go something like Lamar and one other late guy from the Ravens side, because you do still have to get past that first round. Cupe, I know we don't have that much time. What are we going to do in the next couple minutes?
We got to rip a pack for sure. Justin's going to bang out some, who knows, push-ups, sit-ups. I don't know. We got the bet one. It's all about the bragging glory. So he's going to hit some push-ups and some sit-ups. We're going to rip this pack, and then we're going to give it away to chat. So if you're in chat, if you're hanging out, if you want to have a chance to win one of the 3 cards in this pack, put hashtag TOC into the chat right now, and then we're going to rip this thing open, and we're going to give them away. So let's do it. Open it up. Open this pack.
Right,
who we want
doing that?
Justin?
I told
who we want.
All right, all the good ones. I'm going to be putting the headphones off. I'm going to move the camera a bit. I'm going to see if I can do some push-ups. I'm recovering from wrist injury. If I can't, I'm flipping over. I'm doing 2x the amount of push-ups. All right, let's hope you rep a good pack. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Little workout in the background here from the Herzig bot. Here we go. Card 1. You guys vibing to that music? Can you actually hear it? I don't think I clicked the button actually, so it's probably just in my headphones. All right, card 1. Ooh, Philadelphia DST. Not exactly the Philly card that you would want, I don't think. And Serial 286, not getting it done. It's a little bit of a rough start. We'll go middle. We're just going straight down the book here. Second card, Jacksonville QB number 6, rare. If Jacksonville gets in, Trevor Lawrence is experienced, has the defense to get it done, and should be a little sneaky in some of these weekly contests. So we'll see how that goes. Great card to give away, though. Serial number 6, pretty hard to beat. And the third and final card of this pack is,
what do we got?
Green Bay running back. Oh, Serial 601. Honestly, not even worth giving away the 601 or the 286. We're obviously giving away the Jacksonville QB number 6, rare. Justin, I didn't see anything. What happened? You still cameraing? Can you hear me?
I can. Oh, you can't show screen. Okay. Oh, as you can see, I'm watching. I did some. You're getting some reroll calls for. I mean, if you do a reroll though, you lose that Jacksonville QB6. It's tough.
Yeah, we can't reroll. We can't reroll when you get Jacksonville rare QB6. I mean, that's just a mandatory giveaway. Mandatory giveaway. I like to hear that you're out of breath. I didn't catch. I'll have to watch the stream back to get the glory of winning the bet against you.
I can't be done. The wrist is hurting a little. I'm going to do a little more. I may have to move over to some sit-ups, but we'll see.
Hit the sit-ups, baby. Hit the sit-ups. The abs are more important anyways. We're in our 30s. Yeah, you need to be pumping them abs. All right. Giveaway tool is live. Hashtag TOC in the chat. And as Justin pumps these push-ups out, we're going to pull it in 30 seconds. 30 seconds to get in this giveaway. Come on. Oh, no. What happened? Oops. We'll do the same thing. TOC 19. Get in this giveaway. Tiger Mentor took down one of the TOC final contests. He says, do we really think Mark Andrews is going to roll back into playing form by the playoffs or Super Bowl? Hasn't likely earned the snaps. I agree with this. It was interesting to hear Justin say Mark Andrews as a name. I would have just assumed that if you're drafting best ball, I'd be getting likely. look, I'm not the best ball wizard here. So maybe Justin's saying Andrews goes a little underowned in playoff best ball somehow, and he ends up coming back for the Super Bowl and catches 2 touchdowns and ships. So definitely possible that Andrews is the play over Likely, but I have to imagine that Likely is going to be on the field a lot of times for Baltimore. All right, here we go. We're about to rip it. 19 people in this draw. Thank you all for tuning in. Might do one more of these before this week. Might do a Friday show. We'll be back with more information, trying to continue to push the details out. If you haven't, and if you aren't somehow in the Discord, jump into our Discord. If you got questions, comments, thoughts, a lot of strategy talk going on in there as we get Week 18 results, as we finalize the teams that are going into the playoffs. Best of luck if anyone's out there playing any fantasy. If you're out there somehow finishing fantasy in Week 18, best of luck to you all. Here we go. We're going to draw. This is for the Jacksonville QB rare number 6. It is going to go to, good luck.
GL. I see some jokers out there.
Dirty Pirate.
Obviously, the Joker Abby ends up winning.
OTM necklace on that skiing Joker. Perfect for the season. Time to get out there and hit the slopes. All right. I think that's going to do it. Definitely make sure you're following Justin on Twitter. I don't know how you're playing or drafting or doing anything fantasy related and paying attention to what we're doing at OTM without following Justin. So if you're not, definitely follow Justin. Tons of great information out there. And we'll be back with a few more of these pack party streams before the playoffs kick off. And until then, we'll talk to you guys all later. Ciao.
Later.